7 o'clock. We will call the town board meeting for July 20th, 2020 to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Patrick, I gather we have just a couple of supplements.
Yep, Mr. Chair, if it pleases the board, I would like to add under consent 5D, a special 3-dog license for 5795 Otter Lake Road. I also, under old business, make it, actually, we'll just put it under attorney update, quick brief on the White Bear Lake lawsuit decision that came down last week. And then you've also had a supplement to item 8A regarding Township Day, the park board minutes.
All right, that it?
That's it.
Need a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. Item number 3 is approval of payment of the bills. Sign off, Steve.
Yes, move to approve payment of the bills.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes of July 6, 2020. Any changes?
I saw none. I'll move to approve the minutes of July 6, 2020.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, item number 5 is consent agenda. There are 4 of them. If board pleases, we can pull any of them off to discuss. Otherwise, I'd look for a motion to approve.
I will move to approve the amended consent agenda.
A second on the motion?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? And that motion carries. All right, under old business 6A, we have our emergency management team report. Patrick,
Yes.
you gonna start with that?
Mr. Chair, so for item A1, the Ramsey County COVID-19 incident management, we've been in protracted discussions with the county regarding how they are trying to adjust to what's been going around both the state and nationally. Still a wide spectrum of partner and neighboring municipalities remain closed to the public in light of the ongoing COVID-19 problems. Contract group updates from Ramsey County Sheriff. Most of their resources have been addressing COVID-19 over the last 3 to 4 months. They will be expecting a high volume of off time for their officers coming up here just because of the stress involved with a lot of what they've been doing the last few months. But other than that, nothing from the contract group.
From that, Patrick, have they had any issues with infected officers?
They have had one confirmed case.
Okay.
They were
Well, that's not bad out of what, 500 and some?
pretty good, actually. They've been taking it pretty seriously. Been having great cooperation with emergency services as well. So they've really been trying to differentiate where the officers are called out versus just first responders. So, attorney updates. I don't think we have anything specific to COVID-19.
No, there hasn't been any new executive orders issued involving, that would affect the township since the order 2074, which is the one that allowed you to start holding public meetings again if you wanted to. I'm expecting there might be an order involving masks.
Yep, coming towards the end of this week.
Yeah, I checked the one, he issued 3 of them last week, and none of those involved masks, but it's got to be coming because he's already recommending them.
Yeah.
He did say on Sunday morning on one of the news shows that he will be making that decision before the end of the month, but he's hoping the legislature would step up and join in mandating probably masks, so it's coming
Yeah.
soon,
They're too busy wrestling over executive authority right now.
I guess.
So,
And a lot of municipalities are taking it into their own hands and requiring masks.
Yep. So actually, you know what? Why don't we, I know I was saying we should do the White Bear Lake lawsuit update under the attorney update. Let's hold that till after A4 and 5. We haven't changed much in terms of our operations, logistics at our administrative offices. We're still getting steady traffic now since we reopened about 2 months ago. Mandatory face mask discussion, I think. We can have a discussion about that now. As you know, the city last week passed a proclamation specific to making wearing a face mask around White Bear Lake City mandatory, with a couple of caveats. But they did pass it 3-2. So I brought it in front of this board just to see where you guys stood, how you'd like to proceed, or if we should proceed any differently than where we are right now.
At this current point in time, none of the other neighboring communities have addressed it, correct?
No, but it's getting close.
Yes, and I guess from my perspective, with the governor and/or the legislature collectively making this decision, I think we should have a little more discussion about it at the exec meeting at the very least, and look at it at the next meeting if it isn't addressed.
That's what I would advise. In the meantime, I think, actually, hold on, I'll tell you who is doing face masks. So we've got Blaine is doing masks required in government buildings. City of Duluth is requiring all residents and visitors to wear face masks in publicly accessible common areas. City of Edina is requiring face masks inside public spaces. Minnetonka is the same for over 5 years of age. City of Minneapolis is requiring face masks to be worn inside businesses and other indoor facilities. City of St. Paul is requiring face masks to be worn inside city buildings and all businesses licensed by the city. City of Mankato, very similar, over the age of 13 though. They are also doing a $200 penalty in violation of this. City of Rochester is requiring face masks to be worn in indoor facilities, including indoor restaurants, bars, gyms, and public transportation retail businesses. And the last three, Winona, Excelsior, and White Bear Lake, have issued similar requirements, making it mandatory. Walmart, Sam's Clubs, Costco, Menards, Starbucks, Best Buy, Apple, Target, CVS Pharmacy, Kohl's, Trader Joe's, and Lund's Barley's are all requiring customers to wear masks while in stores, starting the 31st of July. Oh, some of them started today. And some of them are starting on July 31st. So it's kind of all over the place. I think Steve hit it, and I would agree with this. Would agree with that as a recommendation that you hold this discussion over until the executive board on Friday, during this interim time between now and when the legislature or the governor issues a mandatory requirement for wearing masks. You can have opportunity to fashion your own if you would like, and at the same time you can state that businesses and residents are more than welcome to go down the path of requiring it or not. So,
Chad, is there a legal precedence that you can actually penalize somebody over this?
If you adopted an ordinance requiring it, you'd have to, I don't think you can do it through a resolution by itself. You'd have to actually adopt an ordinance requiring masks to be worn, and if they violate that ordinance, be a petty misdemeanor.
But I don't think the city of White Bear, that's just a resolution, that's not an ordinance.
And I don't know how they're doing it, to be honest with you. Without just a resolution, you just can't, in my opinion, you cannot adopt a fine unless you adopt an ordinance.
That's another reason why, because everybody's all over the board with how they're treating this. I think if we wait till at least the governor gives us a direct order, maybe that's at least then we're not trying to reinvent the wheel and all these convoluted, you can, you can't, you do, you don't. But I'm curious, Gem Lake, you said Patrick is gonna review this tomorrow?
yep.
So right now, the city is the only one in the area. No Montemita, no Hugo, no Lino Lakes, no Vadnais, no Gem Lake, no North Oaks.
Although, like I said, I think it's coming pretty soon, judging by the comments from our contract group this last week. And it is not a order in the city. It is a proclamation, which, I mean, if it's like Chad said, it's not an ordinance. I don't know if it's enforceable, but I'm not sure how they're gonna regulate that.
Well, it says that the mayor has the authority to authorize promulgate regulations by proclamation. So doesn't that
Well,
give
that's
her that?
possible, but I still don't think she can establish a fine.
I think they're opening themselves up for,
It'll be interesting.
I think it's, having this time between now and our next board meeting, good time to observe what's going on there in the city.
Our executive board meeting is this coming Friday.
Yep.
Right.
So I think that gives us a chance to maybe go into it a little bit deeper too, versus
can-
sitting here doing it now, but,
Research it.
Yep.
all right, is that, okay with you, Scott?
That's fine.
Steve?
I'm fine with that. On the same issue of COVID, do we have any statistics for the township about positives?
No,
They don't, nowhere in the county do they break it down by municipality?
I don't think so, but I sure could find out for you, Steve.
I mean, I'm just curious. We know about the sheriff's department, and I'm just curious if, from a resident standpoint, do we have much?
Or the city, and maybe that's what triggered them to enact sooner, I don't know.
I will ask Ramsey County Health if that is available to us.
All right. Anything else on that, Patrick?
No, sir, that will do it.
All right, moving on. Item number 7 is a public hearing.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop.
Chad was gonna
Oh, that's
update
right,
us on
sorry.
the lawsuit real quick.
Well, the Supreme Court decision came down last Wednesday. They reversed the Court of Appeals on the issue whether or not the plaintiffs brought the action under the proper statute. The claim was, the plaintiffs were claiming they could bring it under 116B.03, and the state in the position of the town and White Bear was they had to bring it under 116B.10. The big difference was the relief that the court could craft. The Supreme Court found that they could bring under 116B.03, but that's not the end of the story. Because there were a number of issues raised by both the state, the township, and the city that were not dealt with by the Court of Appeals, because the Court of Appeals felt that its ruling on the issue of what statute bringing under dealt with, supersede everything else, it's been remanded back to the Court of Appeals to hear on those, to make decisions on the other issues. And I received a order from the Court of Appeals today explaining how they intend to do that. And we have until August 14th, I believe, if I remember correctly, to file amended additional briefs if we wish. So basically what they're saying is if you got something new that you didn't say before, you can say it now. Otherwise, don't repeat what you've already done. And at that point, we don't know if they'll hold oral hearings again or simply just take under advisement based on the briefs that have submitted. We'll find out. So that's where that one stands.
When we went to the Court of Appeals the first time, we really followed the Department of Natural Resources, did we not?
To a great extent, but then we also added a couple of our own.
Okay.
One being that the judge didn't have the authority to order you how to spend your own money. It was that's unconstitutional, the separation of powers argument.
So that's already noted.
That's already been noted. We already argued that. So we have the right to update the brief if we want on that point.
Okay.
Do we have anything new to bring to the table?
Well, I have to check to see if any new case laws come down, but that's about it.
Well, I tried reading that, and it's like, wow, there's no way. Somebody just give me a synopsis, because they make it complicated.
Well, it comes down to this. The argument of the plaintiffs was always that, well, we're not challenging the permits, we're challenging the method that the DNR used to issue the permits, which in my mind is also covered by .10, but that was their argument. And the argument of the state and the township and the city was that, no, you actually are challenging the permits because of the relief you're requesting. In fact, especially that's what the relief they're requesting is no more issuing of permits and reviewing permits that have already been issued. So the Supreme Court felt no, because the permits themselves were not supposedly at issue, and the DNR methodology was that would allow them to sue under .03, which raises a real interesting question, because under .03 there's a safe harbor provision, which basically means that if you hold a permit issued by any state agency, which we do, those permits are considered to be valid. So I don't know what's going to happen on, if it goes back, because it could be that, but there was one other issue too that I forgot, and I think this is probably the biggest one, is everyone argued that they never named all the necessary parties.
Yeah.
You know, and that is probably the big one, because I think that is, that's a good argument, and that's the argument that I would think we should prevail on. And if that's the case, if they decide that all the necessary parties weren't named, then they have to go back to square one, file cases against Hugo, Vadnais Heights, Montemedi, North St. Paul,
Paul?
City of St. Paul, Water Department of, Water, all those people.
Is that back to that 5-mile radius from the lake? Anybody in that?
Well, actually, that's a good question, because the judge picked the 5-mile radius
Yeah, they could.
based on the expert opinion. So it could be beyond that. I mean, we don't know what, it's hard to say, but at the very least, it'd have to include Hugo, Montemedi, North St. Paul, and Vadnais Heights.
Chad, do you remember when this lawsuit was filed? What,
2013. August 2013.
7 years in, and I remember you saying this will probably be in court for the next 10 years.
Well,
You were
you
right
did.
spot on
Could be
there.
optimistic. No, I mean, I think there's a strong chance that that's what's going to happen.
So the administrative hearing judge is kind of on the shelf till this is all?
That is still on the shelf till this all gets resolved.
Okay.
And this is why we battle with water, because water is everything now, whether it's our wells, our runoff, our sewer, everything is about water.
Yeah. Oh, and one point, the only good point is the fact they did rule that the doctrine of public trust did not apply, which is actually good, because if the doctrine of public trust did apply, then the court could have crafted any decision she wanted, any relief she wanted. So that helps.
All right, any questions of the board of Chad? 'Cause that's a mouthful of things. All right,
Can we make it stop?
Yeah, the legislature.
so I think it's the death of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
They just keep coming. All right, moving on. Item number 7, under public hearings. We have a Otter Ridge Circle Road improvements. I need a motion to waive the reading.
So moved?
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That motion carries. And I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, Larry, you gonna bring us up to speed?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. Otter Ridge Circle is located just south of County Road J, east of 35E, and we're looking at improvements to about 660 feet of Otter Ridge on Otter Ridge Road to Meadowview Drive, kind of the circle at Otter Ridge. The pavement rating on that section of street is 1.99 out of 5. We did a feasibility report to study the improvements, and we're recommending a reclamation project. Reclamation is where we grind the asphalt and mix it with the underlying base material to prepare a new base for the roadway and then repave. Of course, we'd have some spot soil correction in areas that are more worse off, and spot curb replacement if needed, if there's cracks or sediments in the curb. We estimated the project cost to be $156,400 for that project. We brought that feasibility report to you on June 15th, where we scheduled a neighborhood meeting and this public hearing tonight. The neighborhood meeting was held on July 8th, and we had 2 of 11 parcels represented at that meeting. We went over the pavement management program, the existing conditions of the roadway, the proposed improvements, the costs, assessments, and then the process and schedule. So tonight we're looking to have the public hearing and take public testimony on the project itself. The next step then, if the board wishes to proceed, is to order the project, and we would need 4/5 votes for that action, with 3 board members that would basically mean all three would need to vote in favor of that order. Then we complete the plans and specifications and bring those back to the board for approval. If this moves forward tonight, we'd combine this with Peterson Road project to get synergy and an economy of scale and bring a larger project before you for approval. And then also, if the board elects to proceed, they'd need to authorize TKDA to prepare the plans and specifications tonight. So I have a PowerPoint that we gave at the neighborhood meeting that's attached to your agenda report. I can go into more detail on any one of those slides. Otherwise, it's appropriate to open the public hearing and take public testimony. And again, I could answer any questions at the conclusion of that.
Scott, you got any questions of Larry?
I guess I'd just tail it on to the comment I think you just made, that if you bundle this with the Peterson Road project, see if we can gain any efficiencies, and since they're already going to be out here, so these costs are estimates of what may actually be, ideally in a perfect world, somewhat better than what these are.
Yes, so hopefully we've estimated a little bit high at this point in the process, and we combine this with another project, bid it now when we are seeing a favorable bidding climate, and we could perhaps get a lower price. So.
And the timing still works out. I mean, I see you say sometime in the fall.
The timing's continuing to get tougher, but we think we still can get the street improvements done this year. It's a real small project. For Peterson Road, I question if we can get all the utility work and the pavement work done on that project this year, as I've mentioned previously. But that's not necessarily a bad thing either, because it gives us some time for those utilities to settle on that project.
Steve, any questions?
Nope, I think we've talked about it a number of times.
Larry, how's the construction climate right now for bidding and road projects?
Yeah, so our recent bids are showing just a lot of savings. A lot of private work is being delayed or is on hold. So contractors seem to have been offering good pricing for municipal projects in this current year. So the idea is to hopefully take advantage of that with this project and other projects.
All right, Tom, you got anything to add? All right, hearing that, I would look for a motion to open up for public comment.
I'll move to open the public comment portion.
I'll second that.
Motion's made, second, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? If you are here to address this issue, you need to approach the podium, give your name and address. Anyone?
Are you just talking about the Otter Ridge people?
Yep.
My name is Anton Frycook, 5904 Otter Ridge Circle. And I remember being in almost the same room 6 years ago when the same motion was brought forward. And at that time, it was decided to pause on it because the road did not warrant sufficient damage to warrant the work. And I would argue that it's in the same condition now as it was 6 years ago. It has not degraded severely. You're talking about a road that has a minimum amount of traffic on it, mainly local residents. There is some aggravation of the situation by commercial vehicles using it as a convenient turnaround, but I don't see them represented here, and I don't see them being assessed funds to repair the road either. Additionally, if you look at the situation, I know our esteemed engineer has said that he's getting good bids, but the reason he's getting good bids is no one has any money to spend. And I've watched my company struggle with being able to weather the current fiscal situation due to the pandemic, and I do not see how it is fiscally responsible on the part of the township to incur more debt, and I think it's completely unconscionable to settle the people on Otter Ridge Circle and on Peterson Road, who seem to have had some very hostile comments also, with additional debt at this time when none of us know if we're going to have jobs in 2 months. End of my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Larry Civic on 5894 Outer Ridge Circle. Sorry, I missed the other meeting because the notice said that the discussion was going to be on Peterson Road. I think that might have been a typo.
Was that the last board meeting?
At the July 8th meeting.
It was.
Yeah, so I was,
Well, speaking for the town, I apologize for that,
Okay.
if there was any mix-up.
so I came here for a little more information. I didn't realize that, I thought this was going to be the meeting that we were going to discuss the scope and things of that nature.
How much more information would you like, or what, would you like Larry to go through the PowerPoint presentation, or?
Yeah, I mean, briefly.
Okay,
I'm pretty up to speed on most. I was at some of the other meetings several years ago, so I understand what's going on, so.
all right, well, Larry, do you have it on can you do it on the overhead or not?
I could.
Hey, Larry, I got a question, just one question for you. What was the rating of the road 6 years ago? Any idea?
I don't have that,
Okay.
but I can go through this.
I mean, if we can just give a brief, kind of a run-through on it again?
Yeah.
You want me to turn the lights down, Larry?
Yeah, that would help. The first couple slides were introductions. We spoke of the agenda for the meeting, and we started with pavement management and overview, and just talked about our program for completing improvements to try to preserve the streets rating. In 2018, we performed, or the town performed an evaluation of all the streets in the township and looked at the ratings of all the streets, rating on a scale of 0 to 5. There you go, that helps. And what we found was the average rating for the township was 3.4 out of 5. And we really want to maintain that goal of 3.4 to 3.6. Otherwise, we get caught behind in our improvements, and many improvements would be demanded by multiple neighborhoods at once. So we wanted to try to keep up and keep our overall average rating 3.4 to 3.6. So we began doing other projects. When you looked at the ratings below a 2.2 rating, we'd consider a reconstruction project. Between 3.25 and 2.2, we'd be considering it for mill and overlay improvements. And again, Outer Ridge Circle was a 1.99. When we take all the township roads and looked at where were the ratings, we mentioned the average rating is 3.4. Most of the streets, 60%, were in the green category or above that 3.25. And we are finding actually a small piece of the pie in that mill and overlay category, and a larger chunk than we'd expect under the reconstruction. Now, Outer Ridge Circle is a 1.99, is below that 2.2, so it would classify more for reconstruction, which is a larger improvement. However, we believe that the reclamation project is suitable here to get more life out of that initial investment. So this is a graph the board has seen a number of times, but it's kind of a life cycle of the street, and it looks confusing at first, but if you follow the red line, if we do nothing to our streets, we build it and do nothing, it follows that red line and degrades over a period of 30 years down to poor condition. And then you have to do an improvement, bring it back up to 100%, and again, follow, if you do nothing, back down to year 60. If we do other improvements like crack sealing and seal coating along the way, perform some mill and overlay improvements a couple times in that cycle, we can extend that life to 60 years. Now, in some cases, depending on soil conditions or other factors, this scale doesn't always apply, but that's what we're trying to achieve with our streets. This is just a map of the project area. And we went into the discussion of Peterson Road and, I'm sorry, Otter Ridge Circle and the existing conditions. Soil borings from that previous effort in 2013, I believe, were utilized to for this feasibility study, and we use that study to update the cost and information. Here's a little bit of background on Otter Ridge Circle, constructed in '94. Street width 30 feet, has curb and gutter. It showed 3.25 to 4.5 inches of pavement over 7 to 7.5 inches of aggregate base. And then the reclamation process I described is grinding that pavement, mixing it with the base, adjusting manholes and gate valves, repairing any curb and gutter that was damaged, and then repaving the roadway. And then we went into costs. Again, the costs were for the street improvements primarily. We have some stormwater improvements, just mainly to the catch basins, sanitary sewer manholes, and gate valves. A portion of the improvements are proposed to be assessed or other funding sources utilized, and in this case the sanitary fund, water fund, and storm fund would take up any of the manhole and gate valve adjustments, catch basin adjustments, and then the rest is assessable cost. 11 parcels on the project, and then we're proposing an assessment rate of $7,500 here. That totals up to $82,500 in assessments. And we'd look to assess this over 10 years at interest rate, probably right around that 3.5%. That's the 2019 rate. It'd probably be something similar. And then here's the breakdown then of the funding. Water fund, sanitary fund, storm fund, assessments, and then the general fund. We walk through the communications, our township website, informational meetings, newsletter. If the project goes to construction, we'd likely utilize a mass email to send out updates on schedule changes daily. And then there's individual meetings if a person has concerns about their restoration of their driveways or yards. We'd certainly have some in-person meetings. Next steps were the public hearing tonight. If the project moves forward, another open house meeting, it's probably looking more like the early part of August, and we'd send out notices for that. And trying to bid this in August for construction in late summer or fall. That was pretty much it. I may have missed I did miss a slide. Talked about the project process, just the feasibility report process, public hearing. and just all the approvals before we began construction. And then we put a schedule to that, preliminary schedule to that. So the next step, if this were to proceed, was to have an open house in early August to go over the plans with property owners, and then complete the plans in August for award of a project in September for fall construction. And then there's also an assessment hearing process that would take place in October. So that was the conclusion of the slides, with the final slide showing a project that is completed with new pavement, so.
Yeah, I know that was a quick overview, but does that fill in any of the gaps or questions you have, or?
Yeah. So we got 82,000 in assessments, 11 properties, so roughly, you're saying per property,
7,500.
2,500.
Over 10 years. When the project gets to the bid stage, if the project bids don't reflect the board's temperature on the market, the board does have that final authority to reject those bids and put the project on hold.
My memory serves me right, this is quite a bit less than what was done last time, 6 years ago? Is that correct?
I believe it's about 1,000, I'm thinking of like $1,000 or $1,500 less. Because this was really held up at Otter Lake School, and they were including some other streets in there which were going to be quite a bit higher, but the whole thing got tabled. And there were neighbors of yours, I think, that were positive about this project back then, but a standalone project was not going to happen, so.
Hey, Steve, can you remember, or maybe Ed, did the township then follow the policy of the residents doing 100% cost?
Yes,
Okay.
that was the policy
So
then.
that's changed too. What are we now, 55, 45, Larry, approximately?
Well, the assessment policy hasn't changed. It's more of a factor of the benefit.
Oh, I
Yeah.
get that, I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
But it ends up being, I don't know what this one ends up, probably right around 50% on this one. 55 maybe.
So all the impacts are basically going to be between the existing gutters?
Yes.
Okay.
Other than if there's spot curb repair, or something funky we're seeing with the settlement area.
Well, the board's had this discussion, as you brought up, about expenses and the climate now with COVID and people unsure of their incomes. And trust me, we weigh that in, but again, also, we can't let these roads go to basically dirt roads again. So I understand the process. I'm curious as your comment about your roads being used as a turnaround.
I
It-
think that's the Republic thing.
Is that something signage could address? Or if it's a Republic, maybe we have to discuss that directly with,
No, it's not Republic.
Well, that's what was brought up in the neighborhood meeting, that they're using it as a loop to turn back around.
Oh, okay.
but if it is at all an issue, I think we can address that with some sort of signage or not?
Well, I mean,
Is that
it
possible?
is a public street and there are,
Well, but I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen signs all over that, no truck traffic, residential traffic, only that kind of stuff, but
well, presumably in this neighborhood, it's somewhat
it is kind of secluded.
secluded. Presumably, those vehicles are servicing the properties in that neighborhood. I don't see any cut-through, in my opinion, any cut-through traffic that would use.
Yeah, the addition of the stop signs, in my opinion,
Hey, can you go up to the mic, please?
oh,
Because this is broadcasting, it doesn't transfer very well if you're not speaking into the mic.
the addition of the two stop signs stopped most of the problem that I had, where people just looked at that as a racetrack. You know, they would come down one street, zip through the the circle just for fun and then.
Now, you wouldn't be
continue
talking
out.
about kids, would you?
No, adults too.
Really?
No, some people were going pretty damn fast. Now the stop signs are just viewed as a yieldish type of thing, which has really slowed down the traffic, which is good, so.
Well, I had a Ramsey County sheriff, was talking to a guy that ran a stop sign. And he said, well, sir, did you see it? He goes, yeah, but you can't believe everything you read.
Did it work?
No, you got a ticket.
Probably got a good ticket then.
All right, thank you. All right, any other questions or comments from Larry's presentation?
One last comment.
You made the statement that you don't want to see the road go down to dirt and that we have to do periodic maintenance on it. But if we haven't seen a significant degradation in the last 6 years, are we really risking anything to hold off and wait for a better economic climate?
Well, but I think that's why you do bore samplings, correct, Larry? You know what's going on underneath the road. And sometimes it's just not the road, it's basically the sub-base that's starting to deteriorate, making the road more susceptible to crumbling. So it's not all just surface stuff that we look at.
I understand that. Believe it or not, my minor was in mechanical engineering, so I do have an understanding of what bore samples are. But at the same time, if you're not seeing any structural degradation, what's the point of doing it? And for the sake of 8 houses that have just residential traffic through there, I don't see the point of it, even bundled with Peterson Road.
All right, thank you. All right, any other comments or questions before we close the public portion? All right, hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
I'll move to close the public portion of the hearing.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, staff, one more time, any questions of Larry? Any other concerns you want to bring up?
Thanks, Larry.
All right, otherwise, I would be looking for a motion on this project.
Are we doing a resolution? What are we doing?
Correct.
Okay. I'll move a resolution ordering the improvement of 2020-5 for the improvements at Otter Ridge Circle Road.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 That is unanimous. And then secondly, we need a preparation for plans and specs.
Make a motion to approve a resolution ordering preparation of plans and specifications for improvement 2020-5 for Otter Ridge Circle Road.
Do we have a second on that?
There's a little bit on the next page.
Oh, all right. In an amount not to exceed $13,000 with funding from the Improvement Fund 505.
I'll second that.
All right, that motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 And again, if these bids do come in exorbitantly high, the town board has the privilege of rejecting all of them, so. All right, thank you, folks. All right, moving on. I got,
Oh, we listened.
well, we did, we had you come up and we listened.
Listened and you voted, which we're going to do anyway.
Well, I guess, I am curious if only 2 people out of 11 homes showed up. It doesn't seem like there's a consensus, so.
You can't say that. You don't know how the other people feel. Maybe they were confused as to
That,
the date also.
that may be.
I can honestly say I was contacted by one of the residents who said it should have been done 6 years ago.
Fair enough.
I won't name names.
So now you're at a stalemate.
No. The former resident also there said the road was, but I'm just telling you, from 6 years ago, said it should have been done then too. It should, no person's no longer there, but,
That was me. That was me.
oh, might have been.
All right, we have to keep going. We have a heavy agenda here. All right, item 7B. This one is a continuation of a hearing to vacate a drainage and utility easement. Tom, are you going to do that?
On your way, Tom.
All right, this is related to the canal project that was reviewed and approved by the town board, I think it was November of last year. Light industrial building. This is over Centerville Road right here, the railroad tracks.
Hey, Tom, I got to interrupt you here for a minute. This is a continuation.
Correct.
I think we still need a motion to open it back up.
Yes, you do, as a matter of fact.
I'll move to open up the continuation of the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Motion's made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, now we can go.
Okay, so Scannell got their approval, started work on the project. They graded the site, removed the trees, got all prepped to go, and then the COVID virus hit and everything was put on hold. And they do not plan to continue the project until next spring, but they say they will start it. There's approval of a permitted use standards permit, but one of the other approvals was vacation of a drainage and utility easement. And that was continued until the project is actually done. What's going on with that is there's a water main that goes through the site right here, shown in green. And it would be under the paved area of their parking lot. So for maintenance purpose, we can't have that. So what they are planning to do is relocate that water main at their expense and then create a new easement. But before this easement area right here can be vacated and switched over to the new easement, you have to get the project done first. So the water main is still there, it's still functioning, and there's no need to take action on this hearing tonight. So the recommended action to take would be to continue it. And I would say probably for another year at this point, until the project is actually done. Then we'll revisit when the work is done, and the intent would be for the board to vacate that and reestablish a new easement at that time.
Chad, can we do that a whole year, or should somehow we close this down and reopen it again?
There's no statute that says you can't do it, but it is kind of, I don't think it's good practice to keep something open that long.
I don't feel comfortable leaving it open for a year. A lot of things can change in a year.
Yeah, but the easement's still there. And the important thing is the easement stay there until the project is done. So everything's status quo. It's just no need to eliminate that easement at this time.
Well, because of this application, does a 60-day rule come into effect?
No, this was
No.
the board's continuation of the hearing
Right.
from the time that the project was approved, under the assumption that the project would be completed by now and the easement could be vacated and reestablished.
It's not a zoning issue, and 1599 only covers zoning issues, septic systems, and building permits, I believe. But, so I don't see a 60-day problem with this.
But if you don't grant the continuation, you just come back and have a new, they have money tied up in this? Is that what the deal is, where they don't have to pay a second?
I don't think there's any money tied up.
No.
I mean, the only thing that would, I'm sorry, Tom, but the only thing that would, they'd have to do is they have to reapply, bring a new petition for vacation of the easement. So that's basically all they'd have to do, is petition again for
Which means they would
vacation of the
have
easement.
that fee,
Well,
right,
that
correct, Tom?
There is a fee to request that, yes.
And actually, vacation of easement can be initiated by the board itself.
So then we could waive that reapplication and fees?
Sure
to
you
them?
could.
So it'd be cleaner just to end it and
Well,
have them
that's
reapply.
kind of where I was thinking. Scott, what do you
Yeah,
think?
well, especially like you were just talking about, if we waive the fee.
A year's a long time.
Yeah, I'm just basing a year on their intention to start next spring.
Right. And
Which
that could not be.
Would change.
Of course.
So, procedurally then, how do we terminate this application? Anyone?
I would suggest that you could always adopt a resolution denying the application at this point, with an understanding that they could reapply in the future if they wish, or the board itself can initiate it if they wish. I mean, there's nothing to stop you from initiating it. I think you probably want to simply deny it on the basis of no action, there's no necessity. I mean, why vacate an easement even before you have to? Plus, there's no easement to replace it yet. You still have an active water main going. So I was wondering myself, why are we vacating an easement before the new water main's in place with the new easement?
I think that was the juggling game that we almost had to, didn't we, Tom, before they could jump it over? I don't remember the specifics.
Well, the intent was, we intend to establish a new easement. So this is what's shown on this plan, is here where the new
As a
water main and easement would be.
As a compromise, you could always adopt a resolution saying that it's the board will consider vacating the easement upon subject to replacement of the existing main and granting a new easement. You could always do it that way, but what happens, what happens, they never do it, period.
Yeah, then they've got a project built over the water main.
Yeah. I think it's cleaner if you just simply say, at this moment, just deny it with the understanding that waiving any, I don't think there's any time limit on, they can reapply anytime they want.
Correct. Because it was
So,
approved.
resolution would be, the board resolves to vacate, to deny the present petition. However, the board will, upon construction of the new water main and a new application for vacation, revisit the matter at that time.
That sound like a motion to anyone?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the way to go, and I'll make that motion.
You get it all, Megan?
Megan, can you clarify how he wrote it to deny this motion, or this continuation of the...
You want me to try again, Megan?
Whatever he says, yes.
She is shaking him off. Sounds like
Okay,
she got it.
yep, she got the sign, huh?
Well, then I'll second that.
All right, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, I think that is kind of the best plan of attack. I don't like to leave these things. There's so many changes, there are things that can change. This board could change, staff could change. There's too many unknowns on that, so. I think the applicant should understand that. Right.
You're looking at me when you say staff will change.
So just one quick, so they paid a fee already? Do we need to clarify that at this board
Well-
level, that we're
No, I
No.
would suggest not.
not, okay?
But you do always have the option of initiating the vacation on your own.
Yeah, if they come back, and if we go back to the minutes,
Make
then
sure
I
you
think
remember
it's,
that. Yeah, okay.
Tom will remember. All right,
Yeah.
moving on. Item 8, new business. Town planner, the first one is Township Days 2020 update.
Yeah, it's been planning for Township Day on September 19th. Planning's been going well, except for one thing. COVID. And rules and regulations. Park Board met last Thursday, and after some consideration, recommended to the Town Board to cancel the Township Day for this year. Very simple motion made, and
But obviously, we have some issues with pre-planned events, and so I know there's a discussion on fireworks display. Chad, we had talked about this at the beginning. If we don't have a contract for the fireworks, or does that matter, even bands, are we obligated to pay a cancellation fee?
There's no signed contract, there's no obligation to pay any kind of fees.
Have you talked to Lisa about the band thing, Tom, or not?
we've had, I just don't know where the contracts stand right now. I think we've only contracted with one band, but I don't recall the language. But yeah, she's aware of cancellations and, what our contractual obligations will be. Just have to follow those.
Well, and I gotta believe, any vendor has to understand that circumstance, especially if you don't have a signed contract. I don't know how this board can consciously pay someone a fine if we didn't ever had a signed contract. Scott, Steve?
No, I'm looking at the notes from the park board meeting that Tom kind of alluded to, that it only talks about the fireworks as potential, even if there's no contract. I don't think.
Well, the comment is, it was noted the town will be responsible for 10% of the fireworks show per cost. So is that just an understanding, or was that signed on?
Well,
It's
it's
not
not,
signed on.
not necessarily signed on, but that's the contract that we have. It's just unsigned.
But that's,
Signed by them, but not by us. at
that's
this
renewed
point.
every year, correct?
Pardon?
Is it renewed every year?
Yeah,
And how long they been doing this for us?
since day one. So that's been over 10 years.
Well, they have to understand too, like I said, we're in the same position as everyone else. No one saw this coming, but you also can't expect us to pay for a service we're not gonna receive. Even if it is only 10%.
When would we normally have signed the contract?
Once we get it, the,
We haven't even received one?
yeah,
haven't
we
even-
have it now. You know, we make the deal with them spring, late spring, and it's just a matter of them getting us their contract to sign, and they're not prompt with that.
So in the past, when we did get it, we signed it and it was a done deal.
Yeah.
When did we get it this year?
Well, I saw it today,
Yeah, that's the first time I saw it.
first time,
So we just got it?
yeah. And I think well, I shouldn't say for sure, but previous contracts would have required a higher cancellation fee.
But
So-
in addition, Tom, all the contracts are placed on the consent agenda anyway, aren't they? So the town board still has to approve the contract, and the board hasn't seen the contract yet.
Well, if we just.
Depends
got
on the
it, too, I
contract
thought we-
amount.
I thought maybe we got it earlier in the year.
We may have, I just don't recall that detail, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did not get it until just today. And if we had one,
I seem to remember in the past, when it came to band contracts, we were approving them basically mid-July, about this time.
yeah, selection of the band and contract. Typically, the amount we're paying for these are less than what requires the town board to sign off on it, but you do approve the bands based on park board recommendations. The actual contract itself, if they're under $5,000, then it's, we have to go through our bid procedure, our purchase procedure, and follow that.
I understand the long-term, doing business with us, and that's great, but I still think legally wise, we're under no obligation, and they should understand that.
Well, more to the point, I don't know if you can pay them without a contract.
No,
Well, it's canceled, so.
So, but you'll be able to inform Lisa Croft of where we stand on it, so I don't know if she's in the middle of this, or are you dealing directly with the fireworks company?
She's working with the fireworks
Okay.
company, so, yeah.
We had planned on delaying this anyway, had we not?
Well, we just set it back a week.
A year.
So third weekend in September versus the second in all the previous years.
And we also set a time where we can only wait so long before we have to make this
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah, we
so-
did come up with a drop dead, and,
All
I want
right.
to say it was 60 days.
yeah, and that's why Thursday's park board meeting was critical in that
The,
recommendation.
I'll make a couple comments. One of the big obstacles the park board jumped on was the fireworks are the big draw.
Oh, yeah.
And we have, the governor's orders are, they can't have groups over 250. And there's no way to patrol that. Ramsey County sheriffs have indicated they weren't very excited about this because they have really limited resources to deal with, you can come in, but you can't come in. The fire department had issues with it. It's just not good timing.
And just so we're clear, the governor's order, which exempted the government from the 250-person meeting, or person limit, only applied to actual meetings of the government. This is not a government meeting.
But 1,000 people at night congregated all in one spot does not bode well necessarily.
No, I think it's a violation of the executive order.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think it's a
All
prudent
right, so
decision.
if we've officially canceled Township Days, do we need a formal motion on that?
I would, yeah, take an action on that, and then we can come back with contract information based on what we have.
and part of the reason to take a formal action is so that it can get proper publication, because it has been published that it was occurring,
That's, yeah,
and we need to, and Lisa needs that for her
sure.
shelf also.
Well, and I'm sure she's dealing with all kinds of cancellations, so. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, I would look for a motion.
As liaison to the town park board, I'll make the motion to cancel Township Days 2020.
I will second that.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And also that will include all of our minutes regarding how our decision was made, so.
So I see the movie in the park was held on the 11th. Did it make it this past Saturday?
I think we got one coming up this Saturday.
I thought we had one this past Saturday. Was it the 25th? Okay, sorry. Retracted.
About 125 people in attendance at the last one, so the park board did review that and felt that that should continue to go forward.
Okay.
And they did do social distancing. They drew hearts on the grass, so people had ideas of how far apart they should be. And they apparently were predominantly obeyed.
All right, well, I have complete faith in our residents. They get it, they understand. All right, moving on. Item B, your Tom Crescent Curve Street light installation.
Yeah, petition has been received by the residents of Crescent Curve. This is in the Weston Woods development, west of Cub Foods. Currently, there is a couple street lights on Crescent Curve, one at the corner, one halfway down the block, and the residents have petitioned to add a third street light in this location right here. The town has a street light policy. It lists rationale for supporting lights if they meet certain requirements, such as being placed at intersections, being placed on curves or on hills, in areas that are considered hazardous, where their streetlight spacing is more than, or less than 600 feet, but more than 250 feet. So those are the, that's what we look at when reviewing a streetlight request. This is more than 250 feet from the existing light at the end of a cul-de-sac. It's a dark area, so it appears to meet the policy requirements. Contacted Connexus Energy, who controls power in this area here. They have given us a couple of options to install that street light, and this is at town expense. The lower option would be for $4,208, and that would be to do the installation, include trenching and boring. In that instance, there's 60 feet of underground boring required and another 95 feet of open trenching. And the alternative, if we want to spend a little bit more, all of that work can be done by boring versus trenching. That adds about another $1,000 to the project. Spoke with the petitioner who brought the petition with his neighbors about that lower option cost. They were fine with that. So the recommended option would be to go with the $4,208. And then that's Connexus Energy provides all the maintenance of the light from that point on.
With that open trenching, can you show us on the map where it would be?
The trenching?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the piercing, they're gonna pierce under the cul-de-sac?
Well, my understanding is they're just coming from this point here, yeah.
Well, where I'm going with this is if they're open trenching yards, what's the replacement cost to get them back to where they were?
Yeah.
And if that's not reflected in here, is it gonna
It's
cost
not,
$1,000 to put the grass back down?
Yeah, if they can go under without the grass, otherwise they just churn it up and then leave it, and it's up to the property owners to restore it.
And the property owners are okay with that?
Well, keep in mind that looking at that map there, the area where it's gonna go is not actually owned by the property owner, it's owned by the association.
Correct.
So what's the association's position on it?
Other than they didn't want to spend the extra, they didn't have the authority to say spend the extra $1,000 to get it trenched.
So
Because
the
that's what I asked is, would the association be interested in picking up the difference to save the restoration cost? And
Oh, okay.
he
Well, so-
wasn't in a position to make that decision on behalf of the association.
So it's not just the homeowners, it's also the association as well as looked at this plan.
Yeah.
Doesn't the homeowners association be the proper party to request this then?
It would, well, not so much requested, but they'd be the proper party to at least review the different options with, because it's their property that's actually being affected. Though looking at the map, it also appears that you'd be affecting, with trenching, you wouldn't be affecting driveways too?
That's why I was curious as where is trenched and where is bored.
Yeah, I could find out that detail and report back if you'd like. Maybe they're boring under the driveways and trenching everything else. I don't know. I'm just
I
guessing.
mean, normally power lines are only down a couple feet.
Yeah. I think 18
It's not like they're digging a
inches is what they
massive,
said.
yeah.
No, but I think I think the bigger issue is that the wrong party is requesting it, my own self. It's association.
No,
Not just
I think,
individual neighbors.
I don't think it's, in my opinion, it's not, the homeowners themselves could request it, because they're the citizens.
If the
It's in-
location is on the association property.
Well, that's why you should run it by the association to get their assent to how the method at least, or at least give them the option, have them say, no, we want you to do this method, yes.
Yeah, because, yeah.
No, Steve, your point's well taken. I think the association is one you should really be dealing with in terms of what the method is, but it sounds to me that Tom's already done that, and the association's already said, we would prefer to use the cheapest method.
Well, again, it wasn't the association, it was one of the members of the board, but not a full association, so.
Well,
And
and
they
you
may
probably
have-
should have the board itself.
They may want it on the other side of that curve there, instead of that where the dot is, they may say, well, no, we want it located on the other side. Then we're arguing that not proper standing, so I think the association needs to decide and request myself.
Well, the town does have the authority to determine where it goes, but it wouldn't, since it is on common area, it'd be wise to get the association's consent to it, or at least
Input, anyway.
input, yes.
Well, these are located in the public right-of-way, of course, versus the association's private property.
But, well, so who picked the spot?
They did.
Yeah.
End of the cul-de-sac is what they requested. in
They
their
being
letter.
the owners though, right, Tom?
Yes.
Not the association.
The residents of Crescent Curve selected that location,
Okay.
yes.
So I think Steve's on the right track here. We need a resolution from the association specifying and clarifying all those issues before we do any.
They may agree to everything that the neighbors wanted, but it should be from, in their minutes that they are party to this. You know, I don't want to, I mean, there's all kinds of irrigation, that's association issues. If we have a problem there, they say, well, you guys let XL Energy do that. You guys didn't get our permission. It's better, cleaner to have the association tell us what they're.
Well, so what I'm hearing is I would look for a motion to table until more information from the association.
I'll move to table this until we get more information from the homeowners association of Weston Woods.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Well, you thought that was gonna be an easy one, didn't you, Tom?
Streetlights.
All right, item 8C, we have the resignation of an accounting clerk administrative secretary.
Yep, Mr. Chair, on behalf of the Finance Department, we are more than likely going to be taking or enlisting a temp service a little bit longer than we had anticipated, because I think we're going to rethink this position. We've had, 4 or 5 folks go through there in the last 10 years, Tom? Including 2 or 3 different temp employees. It's a revolving door that we're gonna relook at the dynamics, I think. We'll be doing that with MRA, before we officially post the position. So what I'm asking for tonight is that we accept the resignation, begrudgingly, and hire a temp agency to fill the position until we post it in its edited form.
And, well, obviously, this position goes, when is the resignation date?
Friday's her last day?
So you're gonna have to have something in place for the temp agency by then?
Yeah. Well, even if we don't, it's a little bit of a burden on Lynette, but she can cover that part of the job for a short term. But I'm pretty confident we're gonna have someone from the temp agency.
Okay, well, just so they know who they're sending and what position they're trying to fill for us.
But What's the board's pleasure? Would you like me to bring a redraft of the position before we post it, or should we just, once we rethink it, redo it, can we just go ahead and?
Well, it seems to me, I thought that's why we had the human resources
Yeah.
company, I mean, they know a lot more about it than we do,
All right.
unless someone else wants to see it.
I just, rather than trying to ram through the same thing over and over again, which is the definition of insanity, we're gonna rethink it and come up with a different solution, I hope.
Must be something just about the office.
Yeah, it's the,
That's why you moved your office.
yeah, that's right, to get away from that side of the building.
All right, so you want two motions here?
Yes, please, thank you.
First one is to accept the resignation. We don't actually have, to just ask the resignation of this position, correct? We don't have to actually state the name? All right.
I'll move to accept the resignation of the accounting clerk / administrative secretary position.
Second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And then secondly,
I'll move to authorize hiring an accounting temp from an employment agency to fill the position until it is redrafted.
Thank you.
Second that.
all right, motion's made second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? All right, that concludes our agenda. It is open time. I see I have one resident patiently waiting. Just state your name and address, Denny.
Denny Peterson, 5474 Peterson Road. Just first to start off, do supervisors respond when people residents send you emails? My wife sent Mr. McCoon and Ruzick emails. You didn't get them? Oh,
Not recently, like in the last week?
since the last happy meeting we had, yeah. So I just throw it out there, but she sent it to you, but, and now I was a little concerned about, now we're gonna have two projects and we're gonna bid them together. How are you gonna do that to get a deal on our street when you only got a little $156,000 job over here to make Peterson Road more acceptable to get passed? I think now what are we gonna go out and find some other projects so we can get the bid down and so we can get it done? I'll just run through this and then you can, like trash guys, they back up all the time in townhomes. I mean, that was part of the thing that sanitation guys are gonna have a problem picking up garbage. Well, if you look at townhome developments, beep, 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 they're backing up all the time. FedEx, UPS, UPS, Amazon guys, they go in driveways, turn around, go the other way. The other night, I went out and spoke to 5 of the new people residents in the 3 Oaks. One person was happy about blacktop. The other 4 could give a rat's petunia if it stayed gravel. They love walking on the gravel roads. I'm just telling you this. I'm just trying to get some feeling from people that are paying all that money. They don't care about a gravel road. One person's gonna go Peterson Road, the other 4 are going Centerville. And then, I know in the last meeting, because I might not be here for this next meeting, that's why I'm kind of throwing this all out. But I know the engineer said something about the high cost of maintaining gravel roads. I lived there 35 years. I can't recall a project on that road. We had one project and we put some stuff on that turned into 6 inches of mud. So that was a project to get it off the road. All the rain we've been having, I haven't seen anybody out there from the township having to look at the road, regrade it, close it down because there's water runoff. Let me see. And Mr. Attorney, who would sue the township if you didn't open that road? North Oaks or the residents? That was
Can't answer.
mentioned last meeting.
You know, when you say open, you mean talking about removing the barriers between the new developments and Peterson Road?
Yeah.
I can't answer that question without looking at the development contracts for those additions, okay? So if the development contracts for those additions require the opening, then North Oaks could, or actually more to the point, the people who bought the lots from North Oaks could.
The development agreement specifically
The
says.
developer could, he'd be
Hang on,
done,
hang on,
right?
hang on a second. Go ahead.
The development agreement specifically says at the end of construction, the barriers will be taken down between Mahagan and Peterson.
In which case, then the town's obligated to do so. And then the citizens, or the, well, yeah, now that the citizens, because they're the owners of lots in those additions, would have the right to enforce that term. So they could sue the town.
Right. If they wanted to get an attorney, spend money. It'd be like me getting an attorney and suing you guys or something, I suppose. That's all I'm
To be
saying.
perfectly frank, if it came down to the issue of, if the agreement says we're supposed to take the barriers down, my advice to the town would be take the barriers down.
Okay.
That's our contract, that's what we do.
Okay, all right, well taken. Could somebody, maybe by the next time we have a meeting, find out when we went from a phase one to a, whoops, we're not gonna do Peterson Road and we'll do that phase two? I don't know where that happened, but,
I think there was some confusion that they thought because the development of Three Oaks was combined with Peterson, and all of a sudden the funds would be commingled. That was never, ever gonna happen. Phase one and phase two was, or all the same phase, could we coordinate this to do Peterson and that new development all at the same time? Still didn't matter how the process ended up, you're still gonna assess Peterson Road, and Three Oaks has their own project. There's never, ever a combination of funds, and I don't know how that got started or moved around, but that can't possibly happen. They have their properties that have nothing to do with Peterson Road. The only thing they have to do with Peterson Road is they have 2 lots that are accessible. But other than that, they have no obligation to help fund anything on Peterson Road.
okay, point well taken, but the problem I see there is that you approved that development and you knew that Peterson Road couldn't handle it when you did it, so you should have thrown something at North Oaks.
We wouldn't have had the, well, you can tell, ask the attorney, we wouldn't have any legal right.
I'm just asking.
Okay, well, but
Well-
as far as I know, we don't have any legal standing to say, because you're developing next to another road, you have to help fix that road.
And actually, without knowing more of the facts, but I will say this, to charge a new project for costs that it may incur outside the boundaries of that project, that's somewhat problematical. You gotta be careful there. Both Egan and the city of Woodbury have been sued on that exact same issue, and both of them lost.
Yeah,
So, it is not, I'm not saying that's an absolute rule, but to charge a development for costs that they only indirectly create is something that has to be done very carefully, and has to be looked at really carefully before you even consider it. And I would suggest in the most cases, you're gonna find that those indirect expenses aren't going to be allowed.
Right, I'm not saying pay him for the whole thing,
Well, I understand, but even part of it.
because at one time, I think they wanted to do 34 homes in there or something. And I think we got them down to 28. But we could have probably done away with all this if we would have done a cul-de-sac there. But doing that, they would have lost home lots, and then they would have lost money. So I'm just trying to get some points here, because I know I'm gonna take it, so I'm just here
Well, no, and you're answering,
using my oxygen here.
You're asking a good question. No, you're asking a good question.
Well,
'cause
yeah.
It has been, I mean, what you're talking about are, the actual term is, and you have to give me a second here, is, boy.
Well, you think of it, one thing, that we have an ordinance in the township, cul-de-sacs can't be more than 500 feet. So for them to put a road in with a cul-de-sac would have exceeded our ordinance. We had the same problem with Pine Tree Hills. We actually had to force them to put in an emergency exit. Well, they don't have that option if they would have done a cul-de-sac. So that plan was probably never, ever gonna hit the table, and it never was. All the stuff that I ever saw back when I bought 15 years ago, those plans were always going through.
Okay, so that little thing you got there, that's emergency exit, that just solved that issue.
Yep, but I don't know how they could have done it for Three Oaks.
There's no
And
way.
the term I was looking for is impact fees. Whenever you charge, an impact fee for development, there has to be a direct relationship between the development and the fee being charged. For example, parks. And that one's always been an argument too. But I will tell you this, both in the case of the city of of Egan, they were actually charging fees for future road development. That would be, and that they felt was tied to this, to proposed project, and they lost that case. And in the case of Woodbury, they were actually charging a fee for infrastructure, not just the, so basically they were looking for, they were taking the project and saying, in this whole neighborhood, this whole region of the city, your project's gonna increase our costs, our infrastructure costs this much, and we're gonna charge you a fee for that. And in both cases, the municipalities lost. There has to be a direct the correct term is nexus. There has to be a nexus between the cost being charged and the development being proposed. And I think there'd be a problem, I would see the developer, North Oaks, raising the issue, where's the nexus between our development and developing Peterson Road? But, you're asking a good question. I'm just telling you what unfortunately the law says.
Right. Okay, and then, Ed, you responded to the last person here that you said there was only 2 residents here, and that wasn't good. When we had the meeting, we had like 90% of the people here, and it didn't matter. So I just want to make that point. I'm not trying to be a smart ass or nothing. I'm just
I got you, but a
pointing
couple
that out.
things. Living on that road, you talk about maintenance. I usually the one who calls to have the thing graded. We deal with potholes and ruts way longer than we should.
Well, yeah, I used to call too.
So,
but
I mean, we're trying to be conscientious and not spend township money. And I'm probably affected with drainage most of all too. When that road on hard rains, there is no control of runoff. It's all coming at me. So I understand the reason. Like I said, we're under extreme pressures to monitor our water, our sewers, our storm, and that road isn't helping one bit in our cause. So that's another, there was a lot of questions to Steve, why are you doing it? There's a whole lot of issues, and the folks only see that price tag, and I got the same price tag. I'm
It's
not happy about it
0.2
either.
mile.
Huh?
0.2 of a mile.
I can't help that. That's just the cost of doing business, but this road, it was gonna get done 15 years ago, and it's not, now the time's here. Urban sprawl has caught up to us, Denny. You can't fight it.
Yeah, but okay, all that well taken. But how are we gonna, when this fine man said, well, now maybe we can throw both of these projects to the guy, how are you gonna do that? You're gonna bid them out the same day? You're gonna say, well, if you bid on this one, give us a better deal on this one?
Well, Larry, that's how it works sometimes. That's why this didn't get done before. Because sometimes you need, these small projects, you need another bigger project to tag it onto, because you don't get a good deal if it's standalone.
It's $156,000, and the other one's 1.1.
That's why they won't come and do it for that.
Right.
Huh?
I mean, that's why it's tied in with a bigger project, because it's a small project.
You want to address that, Larry?
Yeah, the costs would be separated. We'd bid them together, it'd be the same bid package, but the plans for each would be separate. Specs will be similar, but the bid will have 2 different sections. It'll have a Peterson Road, if everything moves forward, Peterson Road and Otter Ridge Circle. So they will be separate, but by getting a larger project, it benefits both projects, because you have even if it's a little bit larger, it's 10% larger, 12% larger, whatever it is, it still helps for bringing a larger project.
Well, then I propose, I seen it was 1 to 3% savings on a concrete sidewalk if we do a blacktop. I think we go with the sidewalk, because I think it'll raise my property more if I got a concrete sidewalk instead of a wider road. If I'm gonna save 1% on $40,000, what's that, $400? Give me the sidewalk.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
kind of with you originally, because I always thought that was a good idea, part of our comp plan.
Tom would be all over that one.
It's,
Tom always, I don't want wood chips, I'll take cement.
But the real thing, huh?
But So are we gonna move telephone poles to my side? Because we're gonna, there was something about that talk too, right? I don't wanna take it, yeah, I read that in some,
I never saw anything
No?
moving utilities.
No, I thought
In
I'd
fact,
seen
we were trying to coerce Connexus into burying it all, but then they're gonna turn around and charge us more, so. Which would now seem to be the exact time to do it, but
Absolutely.
it
But
just doesn't seem to be, they're not trying to work with us here at all either.
we're gonna get any streetlights?
We have a streetlight policy. We need to request them.
You can work on that, Tom.
Well, you have to come to me and say, with the neighbors, and say we'd like them.
And then before I go, one last thing. I think we need to get the speaker system. It works good for TV, but when you're sitting back here, it's hard to hear you guys. I mean, on TV, you're wonderful, but here it's
Really?
terrible.
Oh,
I always thought the
But you got the
acoustics.
fan, all
Oh.
this stuff. But
Let's
Well, that's
talk
good to
louder,
know.
I guess.
Yeah, just project more, guys.
Yeah.
you don't need
Hard
to.
to do through a mask, isn't it, Steve?
It is, but I'm trying.
Well, that's good to know, so we'll have to ask Lisa.
all right, guys, thank you.
Before you, Danny, before you leave though, I did not get an email
Me neither.
from your wife.
She said- yeah, she
And I
went to
will
your-
apologize, but I don't have it.
She went to the website and to your.
Oh,
thing,
you know
so-
what? She might have gone to the general admin,
General what?
a general admin address. So if,
Oh, I thought you went to are you Gmail or something?
it's wipertownship.org.
No, but no.
She can send it to me and I'd be happy to pass it on to the guys
Okay.
if she does want to find their addresses.
All right. Well, no, that's fine. That's why I brought it up. Maybe it's out there somewhere, but,
No, I can't speak for the other board, but I'm pretty, you know,
well, I know where you
pretty.
live. so-
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Denny.
All right, no more added agenda items. I need a motion to receive agenda materials and supplements.
So moved?
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. I need a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Second?
All right, motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned at 8:26.
Thanks, gentlemen.